Welcome to the California State University San Bernardino Procurement Card Training. This training is provided by the Campus Purchasing Office. In this training, we will provide instructions on how to acquire the procurement card, share with you the guidelines that are required of card holders, and how to view and reconcile your statement using the PeopleSoft system. At any time during the presentation, you encounter a slide with information that you are familiar with. Please feel free to select the forward icon on the navigation bar at the bottom of the presentation to move ahead. The Procurement Card Training Manual can be found and downloaded at the purchasing website. The procurement card is a tool to be used to purchase supplies and services that are not restricted, prohibited, or an inappropriate use of funds. You are encouraged to use your card as your first option in purchasing before any other method in order to achieve cost savings and improve processing times of your department needs. With the privilege and the convenience of having a procurement card comes considerable responsibility. So how do you get a card? You need to complete the CSUSB Procurement Card Training, which you have started, obtain the approval of your supervisor, signatures of the approving officials and division vice president. To complete the application, you need to fill in the chart field default account, which is a chart field number where the majority of your purchases will be charged to. You will need to put in a spending limit. The initial amount is normally $100 to a maximum of $5,000. Each card has two associated transaction limits, a single purchase spending limit and a monthly spending limit. The single purchase limit applies to each transaction made. The monthly cycle limit applies to all transactions posted against the account during the billing cycle. You may have the same amount for both limits. However, if your limits are not the same, keep in mind when making your purchases to avoid credit card rejections. 4 signatures are required: the cardholder, the approving official, dean or manager, and your division vice president. Your approving official must be in a supervisory position to the cardholder. You also have to agree to follow California State University state and procurement card purchasing policies. In addition, you must complete a conflict of interest form required by Human Resources Office. If you have any questions regarding the conflict of interest form, please contact our Campus Human Resources Office. You are also required to pass a written test which is provided with this training. If you have any questions regarding the test or the training, please contact the Training Support Office at extension 77270. Cardholders' responsibility is to use your card appropriately in accordance with the Procurement Card Handbook and the CSUSB purchasing procedures. You must ensure the security of your card, and only the cardholder is authorized to make and sign for purchases on his or her card. To change appropriate accounts and to verify availability of funds, to obtain appropriate documentation is required by the cardholder. The cardholder must notify the program administrator of any changes, such as a new approving official, a department change, or a name change. The cardholder is also responsible for preparing and submitting a monthly report to the purchasing office, and the report must be completed and submitted on time. Your approving official has the same type of responsibility as the cardholder. However, The cardholder is the one that is held responsible for making sure that the statement is accurate and all documentation is attached. Prohibited and restricted purchases. The next few slides will provide a list of prohibited purchases and restricted purchases. The prohibited purchases are things that you cannot purchase with your procurement card. There may be a few rare exceptions where a prohibited item may be allowed. These exceptions must be approved in advance with the Director of Procurement. If you have an unusual circumstance, please contact the Program Administrator in the Purchasing Office. Your situation will be reviewed on an individual basis. The decision of the Procurement Director will be final. Restricted purchases. These are purchases that require prior or written approval. It is advisable to request and receive approvals on email so that the email can be attached to your documentation. Purchases with special requirements. These transactions require special documentation. Please take a moment to review the list of prohibited purchases. Review the list of restricted purchases. Review the list of purchases requiring special documentation. Our hope is that you will take this privilege very seriously. If a cardholder fails to submit their monthly report by the due date, fails to provide proper receipts, makes continuous prohibited purchases, failure to obtain required approvals or documentation, otherwise prove to be irresponsible, consequences will follow. The consequences may include a reduction of your purchasing limit, your card may be revoked, you may be required to reimburse the university out of your own personal funds for any unauthorized or inappropriate purchases. Before making a purchase, verify that the service or merchandise that you are ordering is not on the prohibited list or the restricted list. Use reputable companies and obtain a proper receipt. If you cannot obtain a proper receipt for an internet purchase, we will accept an online confirmation, as long as the confirmation contains all the required information. When you place your order using telephone or online orders, you want to make sure that you have the proper shipping information. This will include your name, department, and the office number. It should include Cal State San Bernardino, our address, including city and state. In addition, after the department and room number, you want to include capital P, capital C. This will notify receiving that it is a ProCard purchase. It is your responsibility to make sure that you have an itemized receipt. This would include the name and address of your vendor. An internet address is acceptable for online orders. The description of each commodity or service purchased, the quantity of each item that's being purchased, the unit price, sales tax, shipping charges if applicable, and the total amount of the purchase. This is an example of a receipt from a purchase that was made online. Notice that it has all of the required information: company name and address, the itemized information about the purchase, taxes are not listed on this item because this business is out of state, and some out-of-state businesses do not collect tax. Let's look at a couple of more examples. Notice the invoice on the left-hand side. It is an unacceptable receipt because it's missing the vendor name, the address, and some of the items are not clearly defined. Let's look at the receipt on the right side. This is an acceptable receipt. It has the vendor name and the address is stamped on it. There's a description which has been written on it for the unclear items. Unclear items, if for some reason do not have clarity of what was purchased, you can add a description to help clarify what this item is. Itemized receipt invoice. You want to make sure that you obtain your receipt for charges and credits. You want to make sure that you have the original receipt or invoice. If for any reason you have to fax a copy of the receipt, the purchasing office will accept that faxed copy along with a copy of an explanation why the copy is being sent in place of the original receipt. If you lose the receipt, you must complete and submit a lost receipt memo. You and your approving official and your division vice president must sign this memo. Include the memo with the monthly procurement card report. If you lose more than 2 receipts in a 12-month period, your card can be suspended. Let's review receipts and invoices. You must have a clear purchase description and obtain proper documentation for your receipts and invoices. You must have an equipment software approval form for equipment and software if the purchase is $500 or more. You must have approval for restricted items. A membership justification must be attached to your statement along with the receipt and an explanation of unusual circumstances. If you receive a receipt that is small in size, please tape it to an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper to prevent it from getting lost. We have just a few reminders of the monthly procurement card report submittal. You must reconcile your statement to your receipts. You must include the original itemized receipts and any documentation necessary must be attached. You must have the approving official signatures, and you must submit all documents to the purchasing office by the due date. The billing cycle is from the 16th of the month to the 15th of the next month. Shortly after the end of the billing cycle, the purchasing department will notify you by mail to print your transaction report. This date may vary due to weekends and holidays. Purchasing will always notify you of the correct date to enter, print your transaction report, review your report for accuracy. Verify that receipt amounts agree with your transaction report. Review the purchases in PeopleSoft and make any changes needed. If you notice a discrepancy on your purchases, begin to research and correct them immediately. If a problem cannot be resolved as a last resort, file a dispute with U.S. Bank. Staple together all receipts, supporting documentation such as memos, equipment, software, or pre-approval forms in the sequence that they may appear on the transaction report. Put the report on top. Have your approving official review, sign, and date your transaction report. If your approving official is not available, your division vice president should sign your report. All reports must be reviewed in PeopleSoft, and chart field strings must be submitted by the specified due date. On occasion, we may require that chart fields be changed earlier to meet certain deadlines. You will be notified by email of any changes in deadline dates. Submit your transaction report with receipts and documentation to the purchasing office by the due date specified by the purchasing office each month. Only submit receipts that are listed on the current month's transaction report. If you have a receipt that has not posted to your report, keep the receipt until the following month or until it posts to your transaction report. Do not submit your monthly report with receipts missing. A lost receipt memo must be submitted in lieu of any missing receipt. Make a copy of everything you submit for your records. Submit reports to Purchasing Office SH-125 no later than the specified due date, the sooner the better. In this slide, we will review the following topics: increased spending limits, card rejections, replacing cards that have been lost, stolen, or damaged, canceling your card, temporary employee leaves who have a card, and any changes in general that relate to the cardholder or the official signees. How to increase your spending limit. After you have submitted a minimum of 3 acceptable monthly reports and your department needs require an increase, your approving official may request to have your limit raised. The request is to be submitted by the approving official to the program administrator, stating the cardholder's name, department, and the new amount desired. Your request will be reviewed and you will be advised if and when your new limit is available to you. If your card is rejected by a vendor, contact the program administrator. Your card may be rejected when making a purchase due to one of the following reasons. You may have exceeded your single purchase limit. You may have exceeded your 30-day purchases for the billing cycle. Certain merchant types have been blocked from use. If the merchant you are trying to use is identified as one of the following, your transaction will be rejected: airlines, airports, hotel, motel, caterers, restaurants, bars, or medical services. Sometimes a 3-digit code on the back of your card will be required. If you wish to contact U.S. Bank directly, their phone number is 1-800-344-5696. You will need to be prepared to give the representative your procurement card number and a Social Security number, as it was given to you when you received your card. You do not use your own personal information. The name of the vendor you attempted to make the purchase and the dollar amount of the attempted purchase. If you have exceeded any of your transaction limits, contact the program administrator in the purchasing office. All purchases, including subscriptions, are to be mailed to the university address, not to the home address of the cardholder or any other location. The procurement card is for stateside use only, with the exception of Capital Outlay Group 2 funds. Any state chart field numbers may be used. The default account number for the procurement card purchases is 660003, which is for supplies and services. If you make a purchase for anything other than supplies and services, please use the appropriate account number. Your default chart field number given on the application form will be charged for purchases unless you change the chart field string during the reconciliation process. Chart field changes cannot be made after the statement submittal date. The card is not authorized for use for purchases against auxiliary funds, including University Enterprise Corp., UEC, Philanthropic Foundation, Student Union, or ASI, nor can it be used to make purchases with the intent of having any one of the auxiliaries reimburse the expense. Disputes. A dispute should be filed only as a last result. Always try to resolve the problem with the vendor first. If you decide to file a dispute, you must do so within 60 days of the date that the disputed item is posted to your transaction report. Disputes may be filed with U.S. Bank at 1-800-344-5696. By our agreement with U.S. Bank, all charges are paid in full each month. Until the dispute is formally resolved, the amount in dispute is not refunded to your account. Be sure to follow up until the merchant or U.S. Bank issues the credit. If the dispute is not resolved in your favor, your department will be responsible for the cost. After filing the dispute, you must actively work with the vendor to resolve the dispute. If the vendor fails to assist you in reaching satisfactory results, contact U.S. Bank. If you have any questions about processing a dispute, please contact the Procurement Card Administrator for assistance. Please retain credit receipts to submit when they show up on your statement. Equipment is defined as a movable object of property that has all of the following characteristics: a normal useful life of 2 years or more, an identity that does not change with use. All procurement card holders should advise the property office when they purchase computers and portable projectors for a total of $500, including tax and shipping, and other equipment at $2,500 and above. An equipment software purchase approval form is required for all purchases of equipment or software with a unit cost of $500 or more before taxes and shipping. If you have any questions regarding equipment, please contact the Property Department office. Fraud is a serious problem. Report it to U.S. Bank immediately or to the program administrator if you notice fraudulent activity on your card. Please take the necessary precautions when using the internet and keep your card in a safe place. Never give out your personal or card information to unsolicited inquiries. Only give out your card information when directly related to a purchase you are making. Always follow Internet security guidelines. Memberships. In lieu of a receipt, you may provide a copy of the renewal notice invoice or the application invoice. For all membership transactions, provide a membership justification in the form of a memo explaining how the membership will benefit the university. Registration fees for conferences, seminars, or workshops. Registration fees for a conference, a seminar, or a workshop are permitted on the procurement card. An authorization number must be obtained from the travel personnel before you complete your registration. To obtain this authorization, please follow the instructions provided on the accounting webpage. If you have any questions regarding this process, contact the Accounts Payable Office at extension 75155. Remember that travel expenses are holding hotel reservations and are not permitted on the procurement card. This is listed on the prohibited purchase page. Registering for an on-campus or online conference, seminar, workshop does not require an authorization number from the travel office. You are required to submit a copy of the completed registration slip with your monthly report. Returns. If it becomes necessary to return an item, either for an exchange or a credit to your account, you must contact the vendor's customer service, explain why you want to return the item, and ask for an exchange or credit to your account. If you request a credit to your account, ask that the credit be faxed or mailed to you. Sales tax. The university is required to pay sales tax on all taxable items purchased, even if the vendor does not collect sales tax. Accounts payable will calculate the sales tax on those purchases where tax was not collected and charge it to your department account. This charge, which is identified as use tax, may post to your department account a month or two after the purchase has been posted. Late fees. Late fees are not allowed to be charged by the vendor. If a late charge is on an invoice from the vendor, please advise the vendor that it is the policy of the university not to pay late fees. DVD purchases. Any DVD purchase must include captioning, open or closed. An audio description for the department must have the captioning provided at the department's expense to comply with Section 508.1194.24 C and D. Shipping insurance. The university is not permitted to request or pay for shipping insurance. Therefore, you are not to authorize insurance charges for any order. Subscriptions. In lieu of a receipt, you may submit a copy of the renewal invoice or application invoice. All subscriptions must use the university address for delivery. Vendor gifts. Card holders are not permitted to accept gifts of any type from vendors. Year-end deadline. Each year in June, a deadline to use your card is established and published in a year-end deadline memo issued by the Administration and Finance Division. Between the deadline and the signing of the state's budget by the governor, use your card prudently. The purchasing office advises using it only for the mission-critical or emergency purchases. The next few slides will provide examples of the procurement card application, the lost receipt memo, and the equipment software purchase approval form. On this slide, there is a sample of the participant request form that is required to participate in the CSUSB's procurement card program. It has your department, cardholder's name, your title or position. This information must be complete. If you have an assistant, be sure to include their name under Report Assistant. Your approving official's name and position and your default chart field account is required. You need to include the fund, DEP ID, program, and class. Your monthly purchase limit needs to be filled in as well as the single purchase limit. Cardholder needs to sign it as well as the approving official, dean, or manager, and vice president's signature. If your approving official is the same as your dean or manager, you only have to have them sign it once. This is a sample of the lost receipt memo. It would need to be filled out if for any reason you lost a receipt. This memo will be filled out showing who the vendor is, what the items are, and the total amount. It must be signed by the approving official as well as your vice president. This is a sample of the equipment software purchase approval form. This form needs to be filled out if you are purchasing an item that is $500 or more, that is equipment or software. The $500 does not include taxes. It's just the cost of the item itself. This form requires the department manager, chair, supervisor, dean of the college, as well as the division vice president's signature. Remember, You need to turn in an itemized receipt for every purchase. Plus, the report needs to be turned in by the submittal deadline to the purchasing office. The next few slides will demonstrate how you can view your reports in the PeopleSoft system. Notice that in this presentation we are logging into a training database. Once we've arrived at the campus portal page, you will select the CSYOU home link. This will bring us to the CSU home page where we will select the San Bernardino campus. You can also access CSYOU by navigating directly to csyou.calstate.edu. After we have successfully logged in to CSUSB's portal, we will next log in to the CSU portal. Here we will begin by selecting the campus. We will select San Bernardino. The CSU campus login page will direct us to the San Bernardino authentication page. You will enter your Coyote ID and password and select Login. Logging in directly at csyou.calstate.edu will save you a few steps. The CSYOU page appears. From the CSYOU home page, we will select Tools and Services. Next, under Financial Tools, we will select Common Financial Systems link. Let me warn you, in production, this page is a little sensitive, so don't get frustrated when you're navigating from Tools and Services to the Common Financial System. The Common Financial System page appears. We will select the CFS non-production hyperlink. Next, under Staging, select the training hyperlink. Using the down arrow on the main menu will allow us to navigate to CSU ProCard. Select the CSU ProCard link. Next, select Use an Inquiry link. And finally, select ProCard Adjustment. Once you've arrived at the ProCard Adjustment page, you may want to add it as a favorite in the PeopleSoft system. On the ProCard Adjustment search page, there are various options to search by. The purchasing office will provide a due date that they have scheduled for your invoices to be turned in to the purchasing office. If you're attempting to view your ProCard invoice after the purchasing deadline, you will need to navigate through ProCard Completed Inquiry only if after the due date specified for purchasing has expired. Hopefully you won't run into that often, but if you do, when you go through this navigation, you will not find your invoice there. Just to summarize, if that due date has passed, from the main menu, you will go to CSU ProCard, Use an Inquiry, then select ProCard Completed Inquiry. Let's continue in our current process. We're in the current month, our invoice date is on time, and we're at the Use an Inquiry ProCard Adjustment search page. So once you have arrived at the search page, you can enter your last name, and you can also enter the invoice date. Just make sure that you are selecting the correct invoice date. We will be entering a last name to complete this search. Okay, we're getting ready to start our search process. We will be using a last name. We must make sure that we identify business unit, origin, and last name to start our search. Notice on the top of the search page, just underneath the tab, find an existing value, you can use Save Searches. As you become familiar with the system, you'll be able to save searches that you do every month. So this might be something that you would like to do in the future. If you have any questions about Save Searches, please contact the Training Support Office. Okay, we're going to search for an origin, and we will select the lookup icon. To the right of the empty field for origin, you see a magnifying glass. That is the icon used to search for specific criteria within that field. Let's select that now. Now that we have selected the lookup icon, it takes us to the options that are available in Origin. And we can see that the USB is the only origin that is available to us. Let's go ahead and select it now. Select it now. We see that the origin field box now has USB in there. We're going to go ahead, before we put in the last name, I'm going to just demonstrate how the invoice date or the calendar icon works. Here we're going to select the calendar. Go ahead and select it now. You can navigate using the drop-down menus for month and year and select the date. When you select the date, it will place that date in the invoice date field box. We've selected the origin and the invoice date. The business unit should default for you. We are now ready to do a search using the invoice date. For the example today, we're going to use the last name. But before we leave this page, I want to highlight the Save Search criteria. The Save Search criteria is a link that's available at the bottom of your page, just right of the Search and Clear buttons. When you select the link for Save Search criteria, you will be prompted to set up a search criteria that you can use every month or every day that you log into the system. If you would like more information about the Save Search criteria, contact the Training Support Office. We are looking at our Pro Card Adjustment invoice. Notice that the information at the top provides just header information, your business unit, your invoice, invoice date, the name of the cardholder, the total. Let's focus on the transaction, the middle portion of the page. See your supplier name and some general information about your supplier. In the description, you have an opportunity to provide a description of what was purchased. So the description box is used for your advantage and also to assist the purchasing office. Now that the chart field information is validated, we will select the Save button on the bottom left of the page. Select the Save button now. Now we're ready to print our statement. Before we move on, I'd like to highlight how you can split your costs. You may want to charge a portion of this to a different account. So down in the distribution where the chart field information is, there are two buttons, a plus button and a minus button. The plus button will allow you to add another line, to add another chart field, and the minus button will remove any of those lines. We're going to split the total distribution of this order. Notice that we've added a little more information. We've typed in some information into our description box. Just a reminder to you that you can add the description or change it, and remember to save after any changes have been made. So let's go ahead and select the plus button now. After selecting that plus in the distribution area of the page, you'll see that we have a second line to enter chart field information. You would enter the information show the amount that should be charged to the first account, the amount to the second account, and remember to select Save. To delete an added line in the distribution section, you select the minus button to the right of that line. You will get a dialog box to confirm that you want to delete the transaction. We have successfully deleted the second line that we added. Let's take a moment to focus on the disputed checkbox. You will use the disputed checkbox in the event that there is a question or you've been charged something that you shouldn't have been charged, or you're working with the vendor on an adjustment. Selecting the disputed checkbox will notify purchasing that there is a change coming through on this invoice. So you will select the disputed checkbox, validate your chart field account, and select Save. Again, you will only use the disputed checkbox if there is a dispute on this current invoice. In this example, we have selected the disputed checkbox and we will scroll down and save. Now we're ready to view the invoice, and to do that we would select the Process Monitor link at the top right of the page. If you have any unsaved data, the system will prompt you. It won't allow you to go to the Process Monitor until you've saved your changes. So you always want to remember to scroll down and select the Save button at the bottom left of the page. In this slide, we see an example when there is unsaved data. The system will prompt you to go back and save your data. Or you can cancel and choose not to save your data and continue. We have proceeded with the Process Monitor. When you select the link for Process Monitor, you are brought to the Process Monitor page. And here we can see the reports that we have requested, a report being the invoice that we have requested for the Pro Card. Notice that there are headings and you can sort by each of the headings. Typically the most recent report is at the top or the first line. We are seeking a run status of success so that we can look at our report. The next few slides will demonstrate how to use the Process Monitor. At the Process Monitor page, in the top right, there is a refresh button. We will utilize that button so that we can show a distribution status of posted. Our run status indicates success, that our request has successfully processed, and the distribution status indicates that that report has posted and is ready for us to open. You will need to select the refresh button in order to update the distribution status to posted. Select it now. In this example, we see our distribution status has changed to posted. We are ready to view our report. We will select the Details hyperlink to the right of that report line. The Process Detail page in the bottom right under Actions. View log/trace is the link we want to select to view our report. Select it now. When we select that link, we are taken to the View Log Trace page where we can view our Pro Card statement. Notice that under the file list in the center of the page, there's an SQR and there's a PDF. We want the PDF. That is our report. Select the PDF now. The Pro Card statement has opened as a PDF. You can view the items that you have on that statement, any description changes that you have made, etc. Next, you will need the signatures and any additional pertinent information to be attached to your statement. Notice that there is a signature line for the cardholder and a signature line for the approving official. Both signatures are required. All original receipts must be attached to the statement. The statement with the original receipts will be sent to the purchasing office in Sierra Hall 125. For security reasons, it is imperative that we remember to sign out of each of the databases that we are using. We are using Production for PeopleSoft, and we're also in the CSU portal. Let's go ahead and sign out of the production environment. Select the Sign Out link at the top right of the page. Select it now. Also remember that you are still logged in to CSU portal. Make sure you log out from both the CSU portal and production environments. This concludes the Procurement Card training presentation. If you have any questions about this training, contact the Training Support Office at extension 77270